When the world falls to heat and hunger, survival becomes a myth. They say no one can outrun the world's final month. Yet someone wakes ahead of the end with some outstanding abilities and a second life. And in a dying world, nothing is more dangerous than a survivor with secrets. Apocalypse countdown, 30 days. But someone just hit restart and came back loaded. Now the real mystery begins. In a world where wealth decides your fate, he starts at the very bottom to get loans from all over the city. On March 2nd, 2030, under a bright Luocheng morning, a shabby underground lender named Zhang Yang sat in his smoke-filled office and questioned a trembling young man about the consequences of borrowing 5 million yuan at a dangerously high rate. While calmly revealing his position as the boss of the Dahal gang, the boy, called Chen, reacted with visible fear, yet insisted that any interest would be acceptable if the amount could be granted. So Zhang casually announced a loan of 5 million at 4% daily interest, with repayment of 7 million in half a year, and demanded an IOU with collateral of equal value. Chen presented the property deed of an aging apartment, and Zhang, noticing the outdated condition, assumed the house might fetch only 3 to 4 million at most, and therefore told himself that such a young gambler was stepping directly into a trap. Zhang pretended reluctance and claimed the deal could not proceed for the full amount, causing Chen to break into panic and plead for help, even offering to lower the request, so Zhang leisurely countered with 3.5 million while inwardly believing that Chen was already wrapped around his finger. Chen gratefully accepted and swore repayment, which led Zhang to increase the pressure by fixing a 3-month deadline for 4.9 million or the immediate forfeiture of the house, all while preparing the paperwork. Minutes later, Chen stepped outside with the money already deposited and secretly labeled Zhang a fool, believing that a coming apocalypse would render the debt meaningless, since only 1 month remained, before a catastrophic disaster that would scorch the planet with unbearable heat, mutate wildlife, leaving the world starving for water and survival resources. Zhang, in his own office, sneered while examining the IOU and claimed to his men that gamblers would surrender everything, even family, so a house meant nothing, then ordered his subordinates to manipulate casino outcomes, so the house and whatever remained of Chen's possessions would eventually be stripped away. Chen, meanwhile, convinced himself that Zhang had been easily manipulated since a slight raise in interest secured immediate release of funds, and he planned to vanish without the slightest thought of repayment, remembering how in his previous life even billionaires and celebrities begged for food under the burning sky. Determined to prepare early this time, Chen noticed the luxurious ice cream shop called Xuegao Assassin, and remembered spending a small fortune there for Liu Wanqing in his former life, a memory that now tasted like regret, so he rushed inside and ordered an excessive amount with reckless freedom, while the surrounding customers whispered in shock, and the staff doubted his ability to pay because of his plain appearance. A woman nearby mocked him and claimed he could never afford such extravagance. But Chen displayed his balance and demanded the entire stock, leading the manager, Fei Qi, to calculate that the displayed merchandise plus inventory reached nearly 1 million yuan, a number Chen considered insignificant compared to his urgent future stockpiling. Chen issued a large deposit and arranged for delivery, while generously allowing the astonished women in the shop to choose their ice creams, silently reminding the earlier mocker that arrogance often ended in humiliation. When the sun dropped toward the horizon and cherry blossoms drifted along a quiet lakeside, Chen sat on a bench tasting the cold richness of the expensive ice cream and praised its craftsmanship, contemplating that his mysterious ability to preserve items had returned far earlier than it had in his previous life, forming a hidden trump card for the uncertain days ahead. He reflected that the next steps involved building a safe house, gathering cold storage, weapons, and energy reserves, accepting with a long breath that time was painfully limited, just as his phone vibrated with a call from Liu Wanqing. Zhang exclaims in a thoughtful manner as new work launched. Chen's wide-eyed shock froze under the fading light, as if he alone has just clicked the idea about to break, and the next second promised to shatter everything. A call that drags him back to the years when, after the death of his parents, Liu had appeared like a savior, only to reveal herself as a quiet storm of greed. He remembers how she had pretended to be the light he needed, while her gaze lingered only on the inheritance they had left behind. How she had demanded the fully paid luxury flat in the heart of the city and an exorbitant bride price. How she had reached into him like a bottomless pit until not even his savings could keep up. And how in the end she had even tried to force the sale of his ancestral home to satisfy her endless hunger for status. The memories of the apocalypse that followed tightened inside him as he remembered risking everything to protect her, only to be traded away like property the moment she found a stronger backer, his life ending so pitifully that even his corpse had not remained whole. A vicious thrill stirs in him as he decides the debt between them would finally be settled. This is the moment he stops being fool for love. At a lavish hotel, Liu lounges in a bathrobe and explains through soft sighs that she had lost a necklace, heartbroken by the misfortune, and Chen has assured her with sudden generosity that many more would replace it, allowing her to wonder when he had become so free with money. He tells her with casual ease that virtual currency has brought him profit and that luck has opened new gates, and while she doubts him, she still considers the offer he slips between his words, an offer that promises her payment if she acts as a witness for a large loan he intends to borrow. In the steamy quiet of the hotel bathroom, she hesitates only for a moment before convincing herself that a single signature carries no danger, especially from someone she considers too timid to truly deceive her. And meanwhile, the bald man waiting for her reminds her of the cheap choices she made each night, choices that felt insignificant when she compares 5,000 urns in a bed to 50 50,000 urns with a pen. Far away, Chen's expression twisted into a wicked anticipation as he prepares for their eventual meeting, but his attention shifts toward his true priority, the fortress he intends to build before the world descended into chaos again. He lays out his requirements with cold precision to a defense master whose fingers trembles over his laptop as he listens to demands for bulletproof composite glass, reinforced walls thick as bastions, invisible security meshes, seismic endurance strong enough to mock an earthquake, a solar-powered rooftop, an independent energy core, purified and isolated air systems, an ecological module capable of sustaining oxygen for days, water cycling systems, explosion-proof gates, and a dual verification entryway built to shield a lone survivor against the cruelty of a dying world. The defense master believes he has encountered a doomsday-obsessed millionaire, but the moment Chen reveals the enormous advance already waiting in his account, greed overtook confusion, and the man agrees with eagerness that bordered on devotion while silently celebrating a future carved from a single job. Chen accepts the handshake knowing the final payment would never matter once the apocalypse arrived again, and as excitement surges through him at the thought of the fortress forming around him, he turns his focus toward the next necessity: supplies, medicine, food, and the tools of survival. The shadow of human nature weighs more heavily than any natural disaster, and he recognizes that while blades could be purchased anywhere, the real power lay in firearms obtained only through hidden channels. A coded message from a supplier promises access to things both unthinkable and invaluable, and after directions were shared privately, he makes his way towards the rendezvous point under the cover of night. The moment he arrives, a figure burst into view, a girl running for her life with 3 men in pursuit, and she darted behind him as if seeking sanctuary in the shadow he cast. Her pursuers roar threats about betrayal on their turf, but Chen's gaze fixes on the girl with stunned recognition as he realizes it was Li, a familiar face now traps in the darkness of a place where no one should have found her. As Li trembles behind him and the hunters close in, a cold spark lit in Chen's eyes, something ancient, ruthless, and waiting to awaken, hinting that the real storm was only just beginning. In this chapter, 2 ruthless men gripped Li with iron strength, pain and terror etched across Li's tear-streaked face as one of her captors yanked her hair violently, triggering memories of her as the academic goddess from middle school. The light that had drawn admiration and longing from countless boys now reduced to vulnerability under the merciless hands of thugs. The golden-haired assailant's vile suggestion hung in the air, dripping with lust, a threat to exploit her helplessness, igniting a fierce, molten anger within Chen, who demanded her release, fists coiled like steel springs ready to strike. The golden-haired man lunged at him, wild and furious, attempting to assert dominance, but Chen's reflexes were sharper than anticipated. He twisted the attacker's wrist with calculated force, eliciting a scream of agony, then drove a devastating punch that hurled him to the ground, pain, fear, and rage radiating in tangible waves. As Chen's awareness expanded, he detected a storm of intense negative emotions: fear, excruciating pain, anger, triggering a previously unknown system within him that harvested these dark energies, a revelation that astonished him, a power absent in his prior life. Another thug violently yanked Li, tearing her top and threatening her life, her cries of terror echoing through the night, when suddenly a figure descended from above, bricks in hand, striking the aggressor and freeing her from immediate harm. The golden-haired attacker, seething with fury, charged at the interloper, only to collide with Chen and his new ally, their movements a synchronized storm of violence, speed, and precision, bodies and shadows blurring together in a chaotic ballet of retribution, the night itself trembling under the intensity of the clash, every strike a symphony of controlled wrath, every motion a testament to the fury that surged through them. The night splits open as 2 forces surge forward like twin storms unleashed. Chen orders them to leave, and they flee immediately, sobs and panic trailing behind them, while his perception detects waves of fear, despair, humiliation, and severe pain radiating from the scene, an intensity of negative emotions that his system instinctively harvests, sparking a strange fascination within him. Li, overwhelmed by the unexpected encounter, expresses her gratitude, and Chen extends a helping hand, steadying her as he checks her injuries and offers his shirt for cover, an act that brings relief and thanks before she hurriedly explains she has urgent matters to attend to and has to leave. Meanwhile, a man introduces himself as Mu Qiang, his presence commanding as he inquires about Chen's identity, which Chen explains politely, revealing that he has arranged this meeting. A glint of recognition and excitement sparks in Mu Qiang's eyes as he leaps into the air with a declaration of fate and power. Mu Qiang, impressed by Chen's ruthlessness, invites him to follow, leading them into a fortified house where he presents a wooden box containing a Russian firearm, magazine, and limited bullets, emphasizing their durability and advising judicious use. Chen carefully examines the gun, earning Mu Qiang's praise for his skill and attention, who offers a symbolic friendship price, subtly testing Chen's understanding of value and strategy. Chen's calm inquiry about a suppressor, warranty card, and additional ammunition sends a shockwave through Mu Qiang, whose inner turmoil surges as he realizes Chen grasps the unspoken stakes of the black market, his body trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief at Chen's audacity to request extras alongside the agreed price. Chen, perceiving the storm of negative emotions, gently reassures Mu Chang, insisting he would honor the original price, transferring the payment immediately, all the while calculating that with the supplies and firearms secured, the next steps of his plan were now within reach. The quiet anticipation of what was to come settling over him like a coiled storm. Under the silver glow of the full moon, Liu stands by the glass window, her red gown clinging to her form, radiating both elegance and danger, while Chen draws her closer, eyes filled with quiet adoration, every movement measures with reverence and care. Fatigue tugs at her legs from standing, her mind flickering briefly to the risks Chen has mentioned, which he dismisses lightly, his devotion so absolute that deception is unthinkable. Together they enter Zhang's office, where Liu's straightforward nature draws praise, even as Zhang's calculating mind measures her naivety, imagining her as a guarantor whose signature binds her to a debt she might never repay, fantasies of control and possession darkly lacing his gaze as it lingers inappropriately on her form. Chen positions himself behind her on the sofa, silent and composes, noting how Liu's ambition and audacity inadvertently secures the final payment for his safe house with unexpected elegance. The defense master assures Chen with absolute confidence that every material in the house has been reinforced to the pinnacle of military standards, boasting heat insulation, soundproofing, explosion-proofing, and anti-drilling measures, capable of withstanding the unimaginable force of multiple nuclear detonations. Chen expresses his appreciation for the craftsmanship, handing over his bank card with a measure's nod of approval. Settling onto the sofa, Chen's attention shifts to the tablet in his hands as the news unfolds. The reporter's voice carrying grave warnings of unprecedented solar flare activity and relentless extreme heat waves sweeping the globe, with temperatures in many regions predicted to shatter historical records and citizens urged to take immediate protective measures. Calmly, methodically, Chen draws his gun and loaded it, the weight of the weapon grounding him as a silent anticipation settles over him. Thoughts coiling with the realization that the moment he is prepared for, the moment that has always been coming, has finally arrived. Yet he stands unmoving beside the glass window, bathed in the glow of ruin and seeing that the city melts beneath a rising sun of fire. In the silence before the world burns, something fierce awakens inside him, and as the final light engulfs the sky, his real story is only just beginning.